Good morning, everyone, and hopefully a better day ahead for the Tampa Bay Lightning as they come home after that 7-2 defeat in Toronto. We saw Andrei Vasilevskiy do that way too much yesterday.
Yeah, and you know what? It's all not his fault. The team was defending him in the locker room. They just didn't do well defending in front of him on the ice.
Yeah, and it was sort of a ripple effect, right? Because we saw in Game 1, the Bolts jump out to a 3-0 lead, play very structured, and it was the exact opposite script in Game 2 where the Leafs, the attention to detail was there. Of course, the Bolts did not have Victor Hedman or Erik Cernak in the contest. And once you fall into a 3-0 hole, it's just tough to climb out of that, especially on the road.
And we've seen this between these two teams. This is what we saw last year with blowout after blowout after blowout, exchanging wins and losses. So this is really the same script, just kind of in reverse because the Bolts won Game 1 and then lost Game 2. But as they come back to home ice, they are very well aware that the effort that they put in Toronto Game 2 was nowhere near a winning effort for this team, nowhere near the standard.
Yeah, and I think that's really the difference in it because when you talk about the goals a little bit, in the first period, 2 of them came on the man advantage. One was a pseudo power play with Nylander, and then the other one was just not playing well enough in front of your net, which allowed John Tavares to score his first goal. He would score the second goal of the night that made it 4-1, again, right in front of the net. So that's going to be the most important thing heading into tomorrow's matchup for Game 3. Please protect Vasi in front of the net. Do not give the Maple Leafs point-blank shots. Victor Hedman, day-to-day. We do expect him to be out there for Game 3.
Hopefully.
If not, him and Cernak being out, I know John Cooper is not going to make that excuse, but that is a big-time problem.
And that's why the Bolts had to stay out of the box in Game 2, which they did not do because you don't have your best penalty kill unit out there. And then, as we mentioned before, you saw what happens when Toronto has a man advantage. It just, so many things happen in Game 2 where it's like, okay, the can of worms is open. Oh, the can of worms just tipped over, and now there's worms everywhere. That's really what Game 2 was.
You mentioned worms, and the worm, Corey Perry, maybe the biggest bright spot for the Bolts in both games, honestly, what he's been able to provide in that bottom 6. So we talked a little bit about the defense. As far as the offense is concerned, they didn't really generate a lot of high-scoring, or I should say high-danger opportunities in front of the net. They really need to start pressuring this team. I thought the 2 power plays in the first period that they had, they were pretty good. It just, you know, you got to credit the Leafs. They did their job. But you can't just rely on power play goals to get you going. You have to find those 5-on-5 goals, and they just did not generate any sort of pressure. Stamkos, we have not really seen him in this series for the first 2 games. Kucherov and Point were covered. Beyond that, I just think that they need to start firing some more pucks on net because you have a goalie who really looked shaky in Game 1 when you put a lot of pressure on him. And you made it real easy on him in Game 2, only, I think, 22 shots on net.
Yeah, so I think the formula is pretty simple, right? You got to play good defense, but then you need to come back and you need to pepper some shots on a goalie that came in to Game 2 with only 1 postseason victory. It's not like they're playing someone who's the big cat in the playoffs. He's not. The numbers don't support that he's very good. So you have to pepper him, especially when you've got so many shooters on this team. And you're getting goals from, like, Belmar and Ian Cole. And they don't score a lot. So if those guys can score, we know Stammer and Cooch can Point can do the same thing.
Yeah, you know what? John Tavares had a hat trick in Game 2. The captain stepping up. You need your stars to show up when things look a bit sluggish. Now we get to see what the Tampa Bay Lightning look at home. They did it last year. They came on home. They ended up losing Game 3 as they ping-pong back and forth. You want to see if they can make an effort to go up 2-1, put the pressure on Toronto to try to head back to Game 5 in Canada, leading the series 3-1. So puck drops tomorrow night inside AMALIE Arena at 7 o'clock. We will both be here. And remember to stick it right here on our YouTube channels as we continue to do these game recaps.